Hey world, it's Allie and Bridgett. We are here with Do Not Write a Book Until You Catch This live stream. Part 1, Your Book is Your Business. And truthfully, folks, this title, Do Not Write a Book Until You Catch This live stream, is just a play on words because Bridgett and I are the fabulous co-authors of an upcoming book called Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One, which we are happy to say comes out this month and is already available for pre-order. And I'll put the link over in the comments. But before we dive into the material for today's live stream, I'm going to allow each of us a chance to kind of tell you a little bit about what we do in the world. And then we're going to tell you the story of how this fabulous book came to be. So Bridgett, why don't you tell the world what you're doing in the publishing space while I drop this link into the comments?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Bridgett McGowen-Hawkins, and what I do is at Press 49, my award-winning team, and I get you published faster than the competition with results that you as an author will absolutely love. We are just completely over the moon about this book because it just encompasses everything that Allie and I have learned to date about publishing. Now, I've been a publisher since 2019, and there's a whole story behind that. But what we do at Press 49 is we publish the works of nonfiction or publish nonfiction works of authors who are business owners, entrepreneurs, business coaches, business consultants, who are looking for an elevated business card, if you will, right? They are looking for a unique marketing tool where people are willing to take a risk on paying 20, 30 bucks, 40 bucks for your book to see if you know what you're talking about. And then they're ready to sign on for a larger service with you. So that's what we do. Publish fantastic books. And this is, I'm telling you, probably my favorite project to date. But I think I'll say that, Allie, with every new project that we do. So, right, we have 2 authors that we're publishing in June. And I know when their books come out, I'm going to say the exact same thing. This is our favorite project to date. And then there'll be another one a few months later. That's how it goes. You know, creative people. That's how it goes. Your current project is your favorite one, but I'm not even lying when I say that about each one of them. So yeah, that's what we do. Press 49, your one-stop shop for all things publishing.
They do fabulous work, folks. So go and visit them over at press49.com to learn more about how Bridgett and her team work to bring your book to the bookshelf. So I am Allie with The Right Place, Right Time. And I am an award-winning author and an international book coach and ghostwriter with memoir as my sweet spot. That is my genre of choice, though I do work with folks on prescriptive nonfiction as well, if that's something that you're looking to work on this year. And every now and then I dip into developmental editing and content editing for projects where the manuscript has already been written. This year in 2024, I'm really looking forward to doubling down in memoir, but also in particularly serving people who feel marginalized or silenced and pushed to the edges, either because of how they show up in the world or something to do with their story. It's maybe a topic that we don't often talk about or is something that we tend to kind of shirk away from. I like to be in the trenches with folks and write the hard stuff because I believe hard stuff is really what makes the world a better place, because once we deal with that, we can actually make change, and our books have the ability to capture those stories that have the ability to make that change. So that's kind of how I like to work and play. So if you want to learn more about me and what I offer, visit therightplacerightTime.com. Now, as Bridgett said, the project that you're working on often tends to be like the favorite. So Do Not Write a Book has been one project that has been so much freaking fun to be working on with you, Bridgett. And I think we should tell folks how Do Not Write a Book came to be.
Yeah, so, okay. Picture it. I'm Sophia Petrillo right now. Picture it. July 2022. You and I were having a podcast conversation, right? It was your podcast, and we're just talking all things publishing, all things writing. And as is the case probably with every single podcast out there, if you're a podcaster, you know what I mean by this. Once you turn off the recording, that's when like the really good conversations start. And that's what happened with us. Somehow our conversation morphed into, I really wish authors knew X, or I really wish they would get this right. And as we're talking, we said, I don't know if it was there or via email later, where we said, this really should be a book. And bim, bam, boom, there you go.
It's true. Now, here's what to me is like one of the funniest parts of this story. Bridgett and I were like, this will be small and it'll be easy and it will be digestible for the reader. All right, y'all. So we figured we know this stuff like the back of our hand. So it won't take us that much to just write it all out. 2, we were like, we're going to make it 25,000 words. It'll be easy to write. We'll get it done quickly. And 3, we don't got to give them everything. Like, we just got to give them a little taste. That is so not what happened. All of a sudden, more than a year later, blowing by our original idea of when we would publish, blowing by our word count, blowing by how small the book was supposed to be, we have like the biggest, but also the most badass reference book for writing a book that you can possibly imagine. And today, what we want to do is we want to give you kind of a sneak peek as to some of the content, the fantastic freaking content that we are putting in this book. And we're starting right in order of how we lay it out with part 1, your book is your business. All right. So this is where, if you're paying attention to this live stream, you're going to want to jot some things down. And if you are impressed by what you hear just on this live stream, because we're just giving you the high level bullet points, you are going to want to order this book, which you can do obviously right now, today. And a copy will be sent to you in just a few more weeks. So let's just start off with one of the main things that has to do with your book being your business, really has to do with commitment, first and foremost. So one of the ways that we enter into the book is to talk about something that we call the ABCD mindset. All right. And ABCD stands for approach your book with a commitment to doing it right. Okay. Approach, book, commitment, doing it right. This is so critical. And Bridgett, when we say doing it right, give us a few examples of what that might mean.
Doing it right. I'm just going to be frank and upfront about it. Doing it right means don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to write a book and it's going to be done in the next couple of months, and you just throw it out there to the world, right? Doing it right means you're not asking your friend who was an English major in college to edit your book, because there's a lot more to the world of editing than someone who just happens to have a BA in British literature. I mean, it's a totally different story. So doing it right means you are sitting down and you are researching and understanding everything from the title and what does that have to do with the searchability of your book, understanding BISAC codes, understanding the different types of editing, understanding what do you want this book to do for you, understanding how to write it well. I mean, that's totally your wheelhouse. What needs to be in it, what doesn't need to be in it. I cannot tell you all how many marks I got and how many moves I got and questions I got about the sections that I wrote from Allie, because that's her jam. Writing well is her jam. So yeah, I know the English language, but she was like, you really need to add this here and you really need to delete that. And you really need to move that, and so on. So doing it right means you're really thinking about this and you're seriously thinking about, how am I going to put the best product out there possible? And there's so many parts to it. Now you can sit and you can Google all of them, or you can just buy our book because we've done all the work for you.
And that's 100% true. So Bridgett rattled off a few things that you should know, like before you get going. And those are just a few, like that's not even an exhaustive list, right? She talked about BISEC codes, types of editing, the writing being good, but what makes any of the writing good? Like how do you even know that? Do you know what makes writing good? Do you know what makes a title successful? Do you know what, where to even find information on BISEC codes, right? So what we've done is we've taken everything we can possibly think of that we would want a first time or returning author who maybe got a few things wrong in the first instance, okay? We've taken all the things that we can think of and put them into one book so that you've got one-stop shop, a reference guide that can sit right next to you as you go through this journey, and to ensure that you're doing your book justice and doing it the right way without all of the missteps and blunders that Bridgett and I especially so often hear from authors going on this journey for the first time and often alone. Okay. So honestly, if you can't afford the editor right away, you can't afford a book coach right away, you can't afford to consult with Bridgett and her press right away. Hopefully what you can afford is do not write a book until you read this one, which you can pre-order today. Okay. Because it's all about helping you have that commitment and getting through the practical application of doing this well from the get-go. So now, Bridgett, you already alluded to one of the next things, right? We want everybody to know as much as they can before they get going and writing a book. We don't want them to just sit down and fly by the seat of their pants. So one of the things that we are proponents of, right, is that people know the publishing landscape and choose wisely, okay? Now, this is Bridgett's jam. I am enough maybe to be slightly dangerous, but like she's like in it. She's in it to win it. All right. So Bridgett, why don't you tell people a little bit about like, well, what is the publishing landscape really comprise? Like, and what ways or filters should they use to be choosing their publishing avenue?
Right. Well, for one, you definitely will want to order the book just for this alone. I'm going to try to keep it as high level as I can and not dig too deeply into the weeds. But the different publishing routes that you have available to you, and you need to know this if you're going to write a book, the different routes available to you are self-publishing, indie publishing or independent publishing, hybrid publishing, or traditional publishing. I'm going to work backwards on this. With traditional publishing, this is the one we're most familiar with. These are your large presses, right? These are your Penguin books, your Simon and Schuster. Those are those really prestigious firms that everybody wants to get published by. But the reality is only about 1% of the population will see that as an actual dream come true. And there are a lot of pros and cons to each one of these four routes. With your traditional publishing route, you don't have to pay to get published, but at the same time, your royalty rate may be very low that you receive. You don't have a lot of creative license. They may make a lot of changes that you don't absolutely love, but at the same time, you are being represented by a large publishing house. So again, lots of pros and cons, and we list all of them out in the book. Do not write a book until you read this one. And then working backwards, there's the hybrid route. I think that was the third one that I gave you. That's the hybrid route. That's what we are. At Press 49, you do have to pay us to get published. However, we're a blend of independent publishing and traditional publishing. We don't accept everyone's manuscript because there are certain kinds of content we will or will not publish. And then also certain caliber and certain quality that we will and will not publish. But we are going to guide you through the publishing process just as you would experience with a traditional publisher. However, there is a fee that must be paid. See, a traditional publisher is taking on all of the risk. They're paying for the editors, they're paying for the copywriters, they're paying for the typesetters and the cover designers. They're taking all of that risk because they believe your book has a very good chance of selling tens, if not hundreds of thousands of copies. With a hybrid publisher, we're not going to take on that risk. Yes, we believe in your book, but there may not be that chance that it sells hundreds of thousands of copies. The average book actually only sells about 250 copies in its lifetime. So that's why there's that fee to work with us. Independent publishers or indie publishers, they will, or even called vanity presses sometimes. They're not going to do a lot of vetting. You do have to pay them, but they're not necessarily going to be really, really particular about who they take on. So the pro to that is you're pretty much guaranteed to get published. The con is, well, I wouldn't call it a con. You have to pay, but then also there might be some questionable pieces to the final product. And then finally, self-publishing is exactly as it sounds. You take on all of that work yourself. You find the editors, you find the typesetters, you find the cover designer, you do all of the work yourself with your fingers crossed that you're doing it right.
So one of the things that I love about our book, Do Not Write a Book, is that not only does it define, right, all of those avenues, but we've also included, thanks to Bridgett, again, this is her wheelhouse, not mine, we've included beautiful tables of how each of those avenues breaks down in terms of your royalties and what you can expect to make back on book sales. This is a huge piece of author education because so many people don't understand the truth behind their ROI, right? And how that royalty comes back to them. So we've broken that down inside the book with examples according to those avenues. And then, of course, in addition, we've got all sorts of appendices and checklists, right, to help self-publishing, perhaps, if that's the route that you choose, have that go a little bit more smoothly for you. Now, the other thing that we touch on is how to choose your publishing avenue when there's so many to pick from, right? And to just kind of summarize this, what we really suggest is when you understand the goals of your book, the vision of your book, what you're hoping your book's going to do for you on the other side, what you're hoping that it's going to do for the reader, when you think about it through those filters or lenses, then you can choose the publishing path that is truly right for you. Because every single one of those paths has advantages and disadvantages, also which we address in wonderful tables inside of Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One. So another really crucial piece of this part one of our book, right? Your book is your business, really centers around this next key idea. And I absolutely love this next key idea. And this is that you are the CEO of your book. You should be thinking of your book like a business. For every activity, department, item that a business has, a book pretty much has the same thing. These ideas and concepts are extremely transferable. Having a book, there's going to be administrative tasks. Having a book, there's going to be marketing tasks. Having a book, you should have a strategy or a vision for what you want to do with that book. You should have support in getting the most success from that book as you can in the areas where it's not your zone of genius, right? CEOs, they hire or contract out to people to do the things that they're not the best at doing, that they know they should have no business doing because it would impact their business more negatively. It's no different as an author. So as an author, you need to adopt that mindset and mentality that you are the CEO of this operation. You are the main representative. You are the visionary. You are maybe the implementer, but also maybe the delegator, depending on how you're going to choose to work on this book. Bridgett, what do you want to, add in on this particular point?
Right. So I know it can sound scary and daunting, the idea of being a CEO, because yeah, there are people who are business owners or they're business consultants and they are comfortable with this idea of conducting business. And so wearing a CEO hat is fine. It's part of what they do. But even if you have a book where you wanted to share a really personal experience and teach a lesson and help people grow and evolve or support people on their journey to personal improvement or professional improvement and development, you still have to be the CEO of your book and you still have to treat it like a business. This has to be more than just kind of a side hobby. I mean, let me be clear. If you're fine with just reaching that accomplishment, checking that off of your book bucket list, then pay me no attention. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've worked with all kinds of authors where some of them just want to have this as an achievement in their life, and that's fine. If you're wanting your book to do more than just be some, I shouldn't use the word just be or the words just be, but if you want more for your book and you want it to create opportunities for you, if you want it to grow your business, if you really want it to get out to the masses and really impact a wide range of people, you really want to treat it as a business. You really do.
So folks, there's a lot more in this first section of the book, Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One, including the 5 pitfalls to avoid. But we don't want to give everything away. We want you to read the book. We want you to grab the book. We want you to have it on your desk. We want you to Post-it note it, dog ear it, underline it, highlight it. And even at the end of the chapters, there's a note page for you to write right inside the book the things that you don't want to forget. We want this book to be tattered and torn because you're flipping through it and using it so frequently on your book writing journey. But what we are going to do, we are going to come back next Tuesday, January 16th at noon, and we're going to offer a sneak peek on the part 2 of our book, The Makings of a Good Book. Okay, that's the part 2 section. So we're really looking forward to being with you all month of January, every Tuesday live as we build up to the publication date of Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One, giving you little snippets and snapshots of all the things that we want you to know so that you can aspire to be a successful author in 2024 and beyond. So please join us in the celebration throughout the month that our book is coming. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful resource, and you can grab your copy today. So don't wait. You've got 12 months ahead of you to jump on the book writing journey, and this is the perfect book to have as your trusty companion and guide walking with you along the way to publication.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So we will see you again next Tuesday, the 16th, and bringing to you more segments of Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One. Bye for now.